this book. All right, so today's topic, it's a lot of preamble. Today's topic is I wanted to kind of just in a high level talk about the past 2.5 decades of my life and what I feel that it takes, the ingredients, the main ingredients of creating a legacy. How many of you guys would like to know the key ingredients if I had to take everything and look at my life over the past 2.5 decades and give you guys the pinpointed maybe 6 steps or 6 things you should look at if you truly want to make an impact in this world and you want to create a legacy, not just for you and your lifestyle, but for your family, your kids, their grandkids. How many of you guys would like to see that right now? All right, a few of you. Looking at the chat window, you guys are lag behind me, so. I love that, by the way. Thanks for sharing that, Sierra. Looks beautiful. Okay. She sent me a picture of her fingernails. Okay, perfect. So let's talk about the top 6 steps to creating a legacy. So I'm going to talk about the first thing. So the first step to creating a legacy, write this down. If you're able to write this down. If not, come back and review it later. I want you to write this down to Michael Franquez. I don't know why you're physically calling me on Facebook, but I can't take calls when I'm live, buddy. All right, so number 1 is quit giving a shit what people think of you. Quit giving a shit what people think of you. This changed for me. I always talked that I didn't care, but I did care to a degree. And when in my my early 30s, probably 32, 33 years old, I got to the point in my career, in my life, where I truly quit caring what other people thought of me. How many of you guys, it's amazing to watch people. You may say you don't, but I want you guys to be honest. And hopefully with our group and what we create here, you guys can be honest and transparent with each other, because we can't grow if we're not transparent, if we're not honest. People have this fake life on social media, and they post something on social media, and they cannot wait to see how many people are going to like it, put hearts, and they're nervous that somebody's not going to like it. You know, people care so much what people think of you. And I want you to think about something. I read a book, I think it was called The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy, and he was talking about how most of us care what people think of us so much, and yet when we die, right, the most sacred time that we'll ever be here is when we actually go into the grave. Is that they've statistically looked at it and said that, imagine you die, right? You die, and all of your friends, and you call family, right? Friends and family come to the service for you. And then you're going to go out and be buried into the ground, right? You're going to be actually the whole process of saying a prayer and you going into the ground, right? The most sacred time on this planet. And they've statistically said that half of the people that would normally go to your burial site will not show up if it's raining. I'll say that again. Half the people that would normally show up to the burial site will not show up if it's raining. And that truly is how much people truly care. Again, what I don't get is how many people care about what others think of them. You know, the reality is I don't care what people think of me, because most people don't like themselves, right? The haters and those that are out there. And the reality is, if you're standing for something in this world, if you're standing up for something, the reality, in fact, I was talking to Sierra about this earlier, half the people out there are going to hate you and half will love you. That's just the reality of it. You look at anything in politics, typically half hate you and half love you. If you're not prepared to understand what Winston Churchill said, which I love Winston Churchill, some of his sayings, one of the things that he said is, you have enemies, that's great, because that means at least at one point in your life you stood for something important. You have enemies, that's great. That means at least at one point in your life you stood for something important. Realize that 90% of people are in a boat with no oars going down the river, and they have no clue where they're going to end up. They're following the path, or they're following everybody else, and they don't even know that in how many years, 50, 60 years, they're going off a cliff. A cliff financially, a cliff personally. And the reality is that we care so much others think of us that we're not willing to go against the grain. When people are going, and I said this at the event, and I say this all the time, is my mentor used to teach me, he said, if you want to succeed in this world, you want to succeed on this planet, in almost every situation you'll be on the right path, is look what everyone else is doing and do the exact opposite. In almost every situation you'll be correct. And you look at, let's talk about finances and wealth. How many people retire wealthy? Less than 5% of people within the United States, for example, retire wealthy. And on this planet, 5%, right? 5% of the population live on less than $5 a day, and half the population, $10 a day, and half the population less than $5 a day. So my question to you is, why are you following other people, and why do you really care what they think of you? And if you want to write something else down, is never, ever take advice from somebody who is not where you want to be or where you are going. So if it's on financial situation, if you have a financial planner, somebody else trying to tell you where to put your money, find out where they're putting their money. Find out what kind of wealth they have. Never take advice on anything in any area from someone who is not where you want to be or not where you're going. Does that make sense? I mean, I come down to common sense. So number one is quit caring what they think of you and realize that people are going to give you their attitude. They're going to give you their opinion because people like to do it. In fact, for some reason, your friends and family want to see you fail because it's funny. So why do we take advice from people who really don't give a shit in reality? And when it comes down to this as well, I want to talk about your life. We talked about, your burial site. What life is about is this small little span. If you look at your gravestone and you have the year you were born and the year you die, that little dash in the middle is what it's all about. That is the meat behind your life. That is about the difference of whether you decide to create a legacy or not and whether you decide to stand out or not. That's how short our lives really are. So do you really care, or should you care what others think of you? Your side hustle, what if I fail? You do care as much about failing, or do you care more about what they're going to say about you if you fail? We are so scared to stand out and tell people no, or to stand out and be different and be unique. You guys know that I'm crazy. When I come on these things, I'm very crazy. Those that come to my events know that I'm very crazy. And you know why? Because I do what works. I care about what works. I don't care whether it's the right thing to do in society. I don't care whether it's people look at it, look down their nose at it. I care about one thing. I care about results. And you have to get to the point where you care about results in every area of your life and all the other shit in between, the people that say you can't or people that are the naysayers, because understand something. No matter what in life, when you start moving and shaking in one area or another, whether it be the gym, there can be those that don't go to the gym that'll talk shit about you. When it comes down to you stepping out, putting pictures of you working out and doing things, those that are commenting on it are the ones that aren't going to the gym. Talk about finances, those that are complaining and saying these things about you are the ones that are broke. So guess what? They have a choice always. When you step up in life, the choice is to rise up and become something better or to pull you down to their level, and which is easier. It's always easier to pull you down to their level. It's always easier to make excuses why you're successful and why they aren't in certain areas of your life. They can say through certain things like, well, you've got more time than I have, or you've got more money than I have and you had, so it takes money to make money, or you were given something. It's always easier to let themselves off the hook by putting you down versus stepping up. So quit caring what they think of you is number one. Number two is you need to direct what's going into your computer. Your computer's your brain. You got to direct what's going into there. I had a thing at the event that I talked about being brainwashed, and you guys know that I'm a firm believer in incantations of telling yourself things that you should believe about yourself until you start believing them. Because understand something, your mind is a self-justifying machine. Your mind, if you program your mind and say, I'm a positive person, that success comes easily to me, money's nothing but dirty paper, I can create more, I have the body of my dreams, whatever it might be, if you actually believe those things to be true, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not, it's whether you believe them to be true. If you believe them to be true, your life will manifest at that point because you are in life where you should be. That sounds sad, but you are, and you might disagree with me, but I promise you, wherever your mind is at is where your life is at. So if you want to be something different, you've got to raise your mindset of how you think about life, how you think about things, and the questions you're asking yourself. So you've got to control what goes into your brain. So here's the question to you is, people say, well, isn't that brainwashing? And I'm saying to you, yes, it is. But you're choosing the color of your wash, because understand, you're running programs right now that have viruses. You're around friends and family and peers and people that are around you that are a virus to you. The media is a virus to you. I'm not saying hide your head in the sand. I'm simply saying choose what's going into your brain, what you believe and what you don't believe. And my question to you is, does what you believe serve you? Is what they're giving you as information serve you? If it's not serving you in your life and moving you forward versus backwards and not keeping you in a standstill position, then don't put it into your brain. Because understand something, no matter how the amazing of a program you put into your computer, if you put a virus in there, that virus is going to take over your computer eventually. And we've all got viruses around us. I know this sounds bad about talking to about our friends and our family and our peers and other people that are around us, but the reality is there's a saying that's misery loves company. It's that way for a reason. So guard what's going into your brain. Guard what you're putting into there. Guard your computer of what you're pumping into your brain every single day. And you got to find a way to pump in more positive information than negative. When I was in my early 20s, I didn't have any real mentors. I had my first mentor in my early 20s, but past that point, I wanted to plug into the best of the best in every area of my life. I wanted to plug into the people that had the body that I wanted and understood that part of it. I wanted to understand people that, had the giving thing down and were really amazing at giving. I wanted to find people that had the wealth situation figured out. And I wanted to find these people and find out what they did. And I didn't have those people around me, so I had to start reading books. And then I started going to events and I started meeting them personally. I did everything that it took to be in their inner circle. But you have to start with this: is you can plug in, and we're in the best time in society, in that we're in the information age. You have the ability to go on YouTube, you can go to my playlist, you can find your own stuff. You can constantly pump in every information that your mind needs to succeed. So choose what you're plugging into that computer and make sure that 80% of what you're plugging in every single day is positive versus negative. My question to you is, how many times do you go to work and you're getting positive reinforcement, right? You're going to keep getting beat up. If you keep getting beat up, you got to find a way to keep pumping your brain full of positive information. So hanging around the right people, number one. Picking your mentors. Number three is reading every single day. Number four is actually plugging into some positive information every single day, at least 30 minutes a day. Number three is focus on center line. This is a concept that I brought to the table here about a decade ago. And what I mean by center line is, in every area of your life, you want to be as close to center as possible. Now, people look at me and say, well, Kori, don't you do this or that? Yes, I do. I live life. I still live life, but my goal is at least 90% of my time to be on center line. In every area of my life, to be on center line. And what the center line comes down to is looking at not just one area, because people come to me all the time and they've got a lot of money, or they come to me all the time and they have a great family life, or they're doing really great with their church, but they're broke. Most people do not have the center line taken care of. Success to me is not just having success in one area. That's okay, but that's not an abundant life. Having success and having a lot of money, but your body is shit and you're going to die at a young age, that to me is not success. Ultimate success is having every area of your life taken care of. So this is something that actually I did about a decade ago, and I'll send a copy to all of you guys that are commenting. So make sure if you're watching this and have not commented anything, make sure you comment something. So when I get done with this and I come back and I'll comment in the comments area, I'll actually post a picture of this thing I call a success wheel. Now, you're not going to be able to read it from there. You can kind of see what it looks like. But this is something that I did, and I constantly keep reevaluating this every so often, the success wheel. And all you do is you look at these different areas, and I broke these areas up in these pillars. I focus a lot of my time on the health and most of my time, though, on the wealth side of it. You guys know that. But I also talk a lot about these other areas because those other areas are as equally important. So there's health. And what you want to do on this wheel is each little ticker on there is a 1 or 10%. So the middle of the circle is 1 and the outside edge is 10. That's perfect, right? So you look on the success wheel and you measure each area of your life and make a candid conversation with yourself. And you should look at health. So let's say, for example, health. I'll look at this one. I'll show you guys an example. So health, for me, or let's say for you, let's say you're number 6. So you draw a dot on number 6 for health. Wealth, I feel like I'm about an 8. Mark that 8. Family and friends and the time with them and things that I'm doing, maybe a 5. Playtime, hobbies, and fun, maybe a 2. Relationships, about halfway, so a 5. Career and job, an 8. Personal space, about a 3. Spirituality and contribution, a 5. And then you basically connect the dots. And what this does, it shows you, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this or not. I'm going to try getting a little bit closer. This thing may or may not zoom. It may look like a big blurry thing. But this is actually what, for example, right now where I feel that I'm at in my life and my success wheel. So you guys may come to me and say, well, Kori, you're successful. I am, but there's certain things I need to work on. So this allows you to have a personal conversation and to say, here's where I'm at. So, yeah, I've got these areas covered, but I got to focus my time and energy in these other areas because I don't want to be successful in one area. I want to be successful in all areas. I want to have success. Well, you can see that pretty well. I'm finally, you guys are catching up. Well, now it blurred up. You guys see what I'm talking about on that success wheel. And so my question to you is this. Could you drive a car with that wheel? No, you can't drive a car with that wheel. That's not success. The idea is, now don't get me wrong, there's going to be times in your life you have to borrow resources because you have so many hours in the day. You've got to borrow resources to excel in certain areas. So there's times that you may feel your faith and contributions are lower than what they should be. You got to maybe force some energy and pull energy from other areas to some degree to focus in that area. There's times in my life where I need to really focus on my wealth and focus on my income creation to do the things that I want to do in other areas. And so I've had to refocus a little bit. So you have to borrow resources. It's never going to be a perfect science, but this at least lets you know where you're at. And again, I've said this over and over again. You can't fix what you don't measure. You can't change what you don't measure. You've got to see where you're at and take a personal self-assessment and say, here's where I'm at, and I know I want to be successful in every area. So this is called center line. Your goal is to take an assessment and focus your time and resources and energy on making sure that you're as close as you possibly can to being on center line, which is having every area of your life, again, the health, the wealth, the family and friends, the hobbies and fun, the relationships, the career job, your personal space, your contribution, spirituality, is you want to have each area of this figured out. Now, if you don't have it figured out, how do you learn how to figure it out? Well, you find people who have that area taken care of. So I may go to somebody, for example, for my body and my health, even though they may not have any other area figured out. But if I look at their body and their health and I look at what they do, I can learn something from them and I can model them in that one area. I may not model them in all areas, or I won't take their input or advice in every other area, but when it comes to health and their body, I'll take advice from them. I might find someone else, for example, who has their wealth figured out. I study multimillionaires and billionaires. I'm good friends with some of these people, and my goal is to get as close as I can to figure out what they're doing differently, how they think differently about money and what they're actually doing with their time and what side hustles they have and where they're investing their money. I may not focus on their body, may not focus on other areas. So your goal is to find a mentor, somebody that's got it figured out in every area. When it comes to their family life and their kids and how they interact with their kids and how their kids are growing up, I find people that I see out there and I say, listen, I see, how you are with your kids, what your kids have grown up into. Would you give me some advice? How would you look at my situation? How did you do it? How did you raise your kids? They all have different personalities. How did you do it? So this is the success wheel, and we'll talk more about it at a later point, but this is one of the areas that I feel you've got to really understand if you want to truly create a legacy. Because nothing's worse than having one area mastered, because you can have them all mastered if you really want to. Next thing is you have to figure out what you want to accomplish and why you want to accomplish it, and focus most of your time there, and then worry about the how. What most of us do when we look at anything we want to accomplish in our lives, so for example, let's say you guys come to me for the wealth side of it, which I spent a lot of time on, and you say, I want to become wealthy. I want to, in the next decade, I want to create $1 million of income and have a passive income coming in. Or I want to, over the next 2 decades, I want to be able to retire and have 6 figures a year minimum coming in, even more than that. Or I want to have a $10 million nest egg. Okay, so you come in and you say you want to do these things, but here's what happens is you automatically start focusing on how am I going to do it. When you focus on how, write this down, once you get in your head, you're dead. Once you get into your head, you're dead. So don't focus hardly any time on the how. That should be maybe 10% of your time. 90% of your time should be spent on the what is maybe 10%, right? What am I going to accomplish? I'm going to have a $10 million nest egg in the bank and pulling me residual income in a decade or in 2 decades, right? Or I'm going to have a 6-figure side hustle. I'm going to have this done in real estate. Or I'm going to have the body of my dreams, or whatever it might be, whatever you want to have, you say, what am I going to accomplish? Then you focus 80% of your time, I'm not joking, 80% of your time identifying why are you going to do it. What's going to get you up early in the morning, keep you up late at night, get your ass to the gym, get you out there online after your 9 to 5 job. You're already working, let's say, 8 hours a day. You get home and it's 6, 7 o'clock. How do you motivate yourself from 7 until 2 in the morning to build your side hustle? Because that's what I did. That's what Tony Robbins did. That's what many others have done, because they had to keep their income stream coming in while building their legacy and building something on the side. How do you motivate yourself to do that? I will tell you why, or how, which is the why. I will tell you how to do it, which is the why. Once you focus on the why am I going to do it, and your why is big enough, you will find a way. Here's a terrible, I guess a bad example, but a great analogy, is if I asked you, how many of you would create this next year $1 million of additional side revenue, of income? If I said you had to have $1 million in the bank by end of the year, how many of you would do it? I guarantee what's happening to you right now when you're listening to me is you're thinking about how would I do it, right? Is that not true? I mean, again, I'm looking in the comments. How many of you guys look in there and say, how am I going to do it? And you've already got it in your head, so guess what? You're dead. Because you hit a brick wall. You see that brick wall in front of you? I'm already putting in, 50 hours a week. I've got my family stuff, everything else. How am I going to put in more time? And you also look at your point of reference. If you're used to making $100,000 a year, I say you're going to make $1 million a year, you immediately think of having to work 10 times harder. You say it's not possible to do it, right? But if I came to you and said, I'm going to take you, somebody you really love, your wife, your significant other, your child, your grandchild, and I told you, I'm going to put a gun to their head, and if you don't have $1 million in the bank in 1 year, they're gone. How many of you would do it? How many of you even question it? How many of you focused at all in that moment on how are you going to do it? You didn't, did you? You focused on, why am I going to do it? It's life or death. I'll give you a softer example. Is that not true? Tell me if this is not true. I know this is a bad example because it makes us hurt. My mentor, this is what he did to me. He brought me on stage and said, who do you love and who do you care about? He said, now would you do it? It's never a question of if you can, it's whether you're motivated enough to do it. That's the honest to God truth about everything in your life. It's never a question of if you can. Are there others doing it? Are there others right now who started off worse than you are that have built a multi-million-dollar business? Or started where you are on the health side and your body and have done amazing things? Are there people that have done it is the question. Are there people, I promise you, if you tell me your situation, I will find people that have 10 times worse or have had 10 times worse that have done it. Are there people that can work 8 or 10 hours and come home even though they're frickin' tired and force themselves to do it anyway because of a big enough reason why? Because here's what I know, if you the 10% on what do you want, 80% on why, and write down your whys, things that motivate you, and put a vision board together of what you're going, why you're going to do it, what you're going to do, and guess what? The other 10% is how, because here's the reality. If you have a big enough reason why, you will find a way or you will frickin' create it. That's what I know about the human psychology, and that's what I know about the human body, is you can push so much more than you feel that you think that you are. As I've said before, it's from a Navy SEAL who told me this, is when you think you're at 100%, you can't take anymore, you're about 45%. Study Navy SEALs and what they put their bodies through and their minds through. And I'm telling you, the human body and the human mind is capable of so much more. The challenge is it's uncomfortable, and our bodies are a 2 million year old brain that's taught to keep you away from pain. Your brain's job is to keep you away from uncomfortable, to keep you away from things that are painful. But guess what? To do extraordinary, to have amazing things, you've got to do what's uncomfortable. Outside your comfort zone is where you need to be most of your life if you want to have an extraordinary life. And I will tell you, those people who have achieved extraordinary things are at that point most of their lives, are outside their comfort zone. Not to break you, but to push you, to motivate you to create something different and unique. So I'm going to cover these again. 1, don't care what people think of you. Number 2 is direct what's going into your computer, what's going into your brain. Number 3, focus on centerline and focus on these different areas of your life and know where you need to focus your energy. Number 4, focus on what am I going to accomplish? Why am I going to accomplish 80% of the time? And then the how, because I guarantee if you have a big enough reason why, you will go over that obstacle, under it, through it. You'll find a way if it's not already there. And then number 5 is create a sense of urgency. A sense of urgency. How do you do that? How I did is look at my lifespan on this planet, and whether you believe that you're going to be here for 80 years or 90 years or 100 years, the reality is the average right now is in the 80s, right? I think because of medical breakthroughs and where we are in society, hopefully that someone will figure out how to take my brain and put it into a clone body or something. But let's say it's 90 years. 90 years, right? That's 33,000 days. Actually, it's 28,800, but 33,000 days in this planet. 33,000 days in this planet. By the way, you're going to sleep a third of those. 33,000 days, you're sleeping a third of it. You're spending 2 hours a day to 3 hours a day. Actually, most average America is spending about 4, but average in the world is about 2 to 3 hours a day on television. A couple hours on social media, scrolling 300 pages a day on social media, making food, driving in the car, doing all of these. You're working a third of the time. You're working 8 hours a day. That's the other third. So think about that, right? You have a regular job. That's a third of your time. You're sleeping a third of the time. That gives you 1/3 left, and that 1/3 you've got left, which is what? 12,500 days in this planet? That's when you're born. 12,500 days where you're not sleeping, you're not working. To me, it's truly sad that so many people are working 3/4 the day, live the other fourth, and they can't get by. They don't enjoy their lives. In fact, most people, statistically, more people die from a heart attack on Monday morning between 7:30 until 9 o'clock than any other time in the week, during the week. People hate their jobs. They hate what they're doing. So what I'm saying is I'm going back to the late Jim Rohn. For things to change, I must change. For things to get better, I must get better. So you look at the amount of time you have on this planet. Now do me a favor. Actually do this when we get done here. Take 365 times how many years old you are. 365 times how many years old you are. That's how many you've used. Now take the 29,800 days. Well, actually, let's keep easy math. Let's take the 33. Let's say you live to 90, right? Live to 90. Live to 90. Let's take 33,000 minus how many days you've already used. That's what you've got left. And remember, again, you're sleeping a third of those, and most of you are working a third of those. If that doesn't give you a sense of urgency, nothing will. I'm not saying focusing on dying. I'm saying focus on living and focus on every frickin' day you're living being something amazing and you're moving the needle forward versus being stagnant and standing still. If you knew for a fact you had 5 years left on this planet, would you be doing the shit you're doing now? Would you be hanging out with people you don't really care about? Would you give a shit what somebody thought of you? Or would you focus on building a legacy for your family? You focus on doing something better and having an amazing life. Because here's the reality. You've got one shot, unless you believe in reincarnation, which I personally don't. You've got one shot at least on this planet. So why not enjoy it? Why not make it amazing? Why not get the shit out of the way, the financial area of your life, and focus on these other areas and really focus on how you create an amazing and abundant life and create true success, which is success in every area of your life versus just one little piece. Most people are good at one piece, and that's it. I'm saying you can have it all if you decide you want to focus on it, and you decide to be crazy, and that's number 6. Number 6 on this list. So again, number 5 is to create a sense of urgency, realize how much time you got left, and then number 6 is this. Be obsessed. Grant Cardone says, be obsessed or be average. Be obsessed or be average. I'm telling you, I fucking hate mediocrity. I hate average, and I will fight every step of the way to be obsessed and create something amazing on this planet. And I'm saying that we have the ability together. We have the ability to create a new path. We have the ability to change the planet. In fact, those that were in Vegas, I showed them with 200 people simply changing the lives of 10 people over 10 years and multiplying that 70 years. So in 70 years, all you've got to do is focus on you changing the life, positively impacting one person per year and changing their lives and doing that for 10 years. And 70 years, we will have changed the entire planet. In fact, that would be 20 billion people. Okay? We have the ability to do that, but you've got to get off your ass. You got to get out there and do something. You got to be obsessed, be crazy. Don't give a shit what people think of you because you have it in you. The power of the human mind, the power of the human body is flipping amazing. And let's go back to what I talked about a couple weeks ago, is the average person, 91% of their thoughts are a rehash and repeat of yesterday and the day before and the day before that. I'm simply saying become more aware and self-aware of the shit you're feeding your mind, of who you're plugging into, of what you're doing, and create an amazing life if you decide you want to do that. All right, I love you guys. We're a little bit longer than normal. We're going to get this down to about 30 minutes. Tune in next week. Again, I'm going to give you a quick recap. Is number 1 is share this video if you got some value out of it. And we're going to pick 3 people on Friday for a copy of this book, The Alchemist, limited edition, signed copy by me. 3 winners. Number two is those that actually did the playlist, the $100, 30 days. We'll send that out to you guys. And those that want to go all in and want to help share this and actually impact the planet, impact people you care about, is simply send me a DM, send me a message right now, and simply say, I'm in. And I will send you 5 minutes of work, and I'll send you a copy of this book, not the limited edition, but a copy of this book from Amazon that you guys can read, one of my favorite books, The Alchemist. All right, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you next Monday. Talk soon. Bye-bye.